Howdy guys, Cal Kellogg here. It is Sunday morning. I have coffee in one hand, notes in the other, and it is time for our Northern California fishing report, and things are starting to change for the better. Before I get into that, please take a second to hit that subscribe button and that bell notification, and that way you'll always know when I'm here on YouTube talking about fishing, whether I'm giving you a fishing report or we're talking, trout tactics or whatever it is. You'll know when I'm up here talking about fishing, and you can join in on the conversation. So let's talk fishing. I'm going to close it out this week with the river salmon action and the ocean salmon action. That's going on. People are catching fish, but we have had some movement in the trout fishing category. August, it can be a slow time for trout. You can still catch trout a lot of places, but we don't call it the doldrums for nothing. Conditions haven't changed now for, weeks. The fish are fat, they're sassy, they're kind of dialed into a certain lifestyle, and sometimes it can be tough to get out to a Sierra Lake and have a really good outing. Well, very often the first indication of a change in the trout fishing either takes place at Lake Elminor or Eagle Lake. They're up there in far northern California, and that's exactly what we saw this week at Eagle Lake. I call Eagle Lake the cathedral of Northern California trout fishermen. Muslims go to Mecca. California trout fishermen, they go to Eagle Lake. That's just the way it is. Eagle in the fall is a very special place. So this week, the nighttime temperatures got down below 40 degrees. And while we didn't see a big change in the water temperature at the lake, we saw a big change in the disposition of those Eagle Lake rainbows. They moved up. Let me take a peek at my notes here. Those fish are up. They're in 7 to 12 feet of water in the morning, and they are hitting. Fish are running 2.5 to 3.5, maybe all the way up to 4 pounds if you get lucky and get a large one. Limits, they're coming easy. They're coming fast. Orange spoons, Trigger Spoon Jr., orange pinhead working very well. The trolling fly bite is also very good on orange flies. The orange J Fair, the orange flies that I offer, the orange metalhead, the orange flies, and the pink flies in my classic kit are working very well. So think to know at Eagle Lake, 7 to 12 feet, pull orange spoons, pull orange flies, and you are going to be yelling fish on. Get out there at first light. The boat ramp, from what I understand, it's not horrible, but it's not great. You got to take your time. It is shallow. They've done some work there to kind of build it up and smooth it out, but just be cautious, move slow, and you should have no problem getting your boat in and out of the lake. We'll see how that develops, down the road as we get into the fall. But the great news is the bite has really broken loose up there. The fish have moved up, and it should do nothing but get better between now and like Thanksgiving. And remember, the season at Eagle Lake is now longer. It goes past New Year's. So some exciting days ahead that can all change due to icing on the lake. You just don't know. But I will absolutely be up at Eagle Lake in November, getting my fish on. Had a couple fish over 5 pounds last November, first week of November, and I look forward to doing it all over again. So if you're looking for a destination trout fishing trip and maybe get into some cooler air than you're finding down here in the valley and the foothills, get on up to Eagle Lake because the fishing is underway. Now, if you like it hot and you still want to catch a bunch of trout, you need to go west from Eagle Lake until you find yourself over, Highway 5 at Lake Shasta. My buddy Robert Hauer, he's out there almost every morning with his fishing partner Patty, and they are experiencing exceptional trolling. And I've also had a couple viewers of the channel up there as well. There's not a lot of fishing pressure out there. I'm not surprised. It's 105, 8, 10 degrees on the water. But if you get out there early, you can pop quick limits of fish, trolling, around 80 feet deep, right there in the main body, right there below the bridge. And it is a spoon bite. They're locked into the thermocline. Find the fish, position your lures a little bit over the top of them, and you're going to get your fish on. You're going to get your fish on early, and you're going to be off the water before it gets really super, super hot. It is a spoon deal, as I said. The viewers that were up there, they caught fish on pinheads at about 75 feet. Speed spoons, although they reported that it was hard trolling the spoons fast enough that deep to get them consistently on the speed spoons, and Trigger Spoon Juniors. the fish are feeding on shad. Those rainbows are down there feeding on shad. There's some browns in the mix. There's a few kings in the mix. But, you know, it's the ability to get a spoon down that deep and have it working properly. And that's why we see the edge going to the little bit smaller spoons like the Trigger Spoon Junior and the Pinhead. You control those slower, still have good action on them. Action catches fish, and you know, you got to have that good cripple shad action going on down there at 75 or 80 feet deep. So that's the story at Lake Shasta. Very good action, quality fish. Get them early and get out of there before the heat stroke kicks in. So moving down the state, let's move down the state. I sound a little bit like a broken record. Folsom Lake continues to kick out monster king salmon. Fish that are running 10 to 13 pounds. Now, if you go out there, first of all, it's going to be high. That's a given. Second of all, you're going to be dealing with some recreational boaters because it's hot. And third, the water level is starting to drop. But if you get out there and put in some time, you stand a chance of catching an absolutely huge king. You're not going to get a bite every 2 minutes. We're not kokanee fishing. You're going to have to grind, you know, you have to put in your time. You're going to have to cover some ground down there in the main body, at the ends of the two major arms. But when you get a bite, you are very likely going to go very, very big. Power trolling is the way to go now. There's been a few fish reported on rolled anchovies, some on hoochies and strips of anchovy. But the best approach right now seems to be power trolling anywhere from about 80 to 110 feet deep. Speedy shiners are working. My speed spoons are working. My opinion, that is a better spoon than the Speedy Shiner. If you haven't tried them, give them a try. It'll do everything the Speedy will do, but it'll do it better. Check it out for yourself. But I'm a big believer in that spoon. And my crippled minnow spoons are working very well. That's a unique spoon. That's a rolling spoon that you control very fast. You can roll it way faster than you can roll shad or anchovy tails or whatever. So you're getting the rolling action in a true power presentation at, you know, 2.5 or more miles an hour. If you're going to troll that fast, that deep, and you do have some 10 or 12 pound balls, probably want to take those. That's just going to limit the blowback, and it's just going to help you be more precise in your presentation. Can you do it with 8-pound balls? Absolutely, but you're going to have to kind of look at the angle of that cable, and you're going to have to kind of estimate how deep you really are. But once you get the first hit, you know, whatever it read, that's where you're going to put it back down to. So that's kind of the formula then. But anyway, if you do have access to some of those, you know, ocean-sized downrigger weights, this is the time to break them out at Folsom, because you want to troll fast, you want to troll aggressive, but you've got to get down deep where those salmon are holding. Surface temperature out there is hovering around 80 degrees, so those fish are down deep. They like it cold. They're down there with the bait. They're down there staying cool, and they are down there at times feeding, and they're very, very big, very, very clean fish. They look like ocean salmon. So that's the story at Folsom. Let's turn our attention to the really big salmon, you know, our coastal and inland Chinook salmon. The salmon season's underway, and I'm going to describe it like this. And this is usually how it is this time of the year. It's the salmon season's like a 4-wheel drive truck driving through mud, and it just started to bog down a little bit, and we're still making forward progress, but the wheels are spinning a little bit looking for traction, okay? Up at the upper end of the system, above Red Bluff, they are catching fish, and that bite is varying anywhere from fair to good, depending on the day. Go during a full moon, you're asking for trouble. Go during, you know, a smaller moon, it's going to be fair to good. If you've got the knowledge, you've got the boat, you've got the equipment, you can go up there and catch fish on your own, absolutely. If you don't, book a trip with a guide. Here's how it's going to break down. There's a pretty big number of fish in the barge hole. Probably want to start out there. You want to start out there pulling plugs. There's fish down in the lava too. They're more spread out. Now, some of those fish in the barge hole, they're getting a little zombie-like. They're looking a little zombie-ish, but there's fresh fish in there too. So start out there with the plugs. If you've got your heart set on an absolute chromer, there's less fish down in the lava, but there's probably better quality fish down there. So see what you can do in the barge hole, start working your way out from there, And when you get the sun on the water, start playing with some roe. If you've got some roe, start playing with some roe, but continue to mix it up throughout the day. You've just got to intercept that one 20, 25, 30-pound fish, and you've gone from a zero to a hero. And that's what it takes this time of the year. Those fish are available, but you got to put in your time. It's a little bit like deer hunting. It's like sturgeon fishing. You got to keep your line wet, and good things will typically happen. And if you don't have the knowledge and the experience and the boat and the gear to do it, go out with a guide. Go out with Kevin Brock, one of the other guys up there. They've been doing it forever, and they will put you in the absolute best position to hook up on a salmon. Middle of the river, from Red Bluff all the way down to Benicia, it's a suckety suck fest out there. The water is warm. There are fish moving through. They're blasting through at night, and nobody is catching them. The one exception to that is in the Discovery area, right there in the Sac Metro area. There's a bubble of cold water there, and there are fish holding there, and the jiggers are getting them. But again, that's another hit and miss bite. You can hook quite a few fish out there, but most of the time, the majority of those fish are not hooked in the mouth, and you got to let them go. Will they hit the jig? Absolutely, they'll hit the jig. But from what I've seen, and I've been down there many times over the years, the majority of the fish hooked down there aren't hooked in the mouth. Some are, most aren't. Anyway, whatever. They're down there, Discovery. There is a bubble of cold water down there, and there are salmon holding in it. Now, down in the ocean, the bite, in terms of numbers, it's backed off a little bit, but the fish are very big. They're very close to the Golden Gate Bridge, and they are biting. They're biting rigged baits. Get out there, put in your time. That's going to give you the best quality eating fish, hands down. Those fish have been out there. They're feeding. They're oily. They're rich. They're beautiful. They're bright chrome, and they're getting to the end of their life cycle. So those are always great fish to catch, great fish to eat. They fight hard, taste great, smoke some, barbecue some. You're going to be eating good. California City, hit and miss again. Talked to a guy just yesterday that he drove through California City looking. He was going to drop gear if he saw any favorable marks. Saw nothing. 3 days ago, I talked to a guy. Him and his son were in there. They pulled in there. They saw bait. They saw fish. They pulled 3 kings out, and they weren't even salmon fishing. They were out looking for halibut, but they had the gear. They saw the marks, put the gear in the water, started pulling frozen bait around, and great things happened. I think they had a fish that was like 26 pounds. So big, beautiful fish. You know, and that just goes to show you the most important element of catching salmon is that they're salmon where you're trying to catch them. That's important. But you know, things are going to get better. It always does. We always have these ups and downs in the season. We always see some fish caught in July, in the early part of August, and it kind of slows down. Then things kind of reform in September, October, on into November, depending on the conditions. I always like to go up and fish with Mike Bogue late in the season, last couple weeks. You're going to probably be fishing for zombie fish, but those are the fish, you know, at that time of the year when you can catch a really big fish. And I've always dreamed of catching a 40 plus in the Sacramento River. I've caught 40 plus Chinooks other places, but I've never got one in the Sac. But I have tried with Mike Bogue a number of different times, and I may just give that a try again this year. It's always a fun day out there with Mike, pulling those big, giant T60 flatfish in some of his honey holes. He's been fishing it forever. So anyway, that's pretty much the size of it. I will remind you that I have the #1 salmon, halibut, and striper rod in Northern California. Designed it myself. Took me 3 years of research and development. Foam grip, trigger stick. The action's perfect. Plenty of power, plenty of play in the tip. It's a very sensitive rod. If you're out looking for halibut, river salmon, stripers, or even those big trout up at Pyramid Lake, you can't go wrong with this rod. High performance, and it looks great. Gold and purple accents, blank. Enough said. Go pick one of these up now at the fishhuntshoot.com store, and we're going to throw in a complimentary quick fish and a complimentary P-line predator. 2 free lures, a striper lure, a salmon lure, and we are going to set you up for river fishing success as the fall season develops. In closing, guys, we are getting into one of the most exciting times of the year. We are going to transition from these kind of August doldrums into a time when we have options everywhere. We're going to have stripers, and we're going to have salmon. We're going to have big lings off the coast, trout inland, ducks flying around, bears, bucks. We're going to have more opportunities than we can take advantage of. I love it. That's how it always is here in the fall in Northern California. September, October, November, it's a barn burner. Get out there and get in on the best of the action, guys. I'm Kel Kellogg. I'll catch you next time right here on YouTube. Have a great Sunday.